movie, TV, motherfucker. I had to kick spiritual ass and it was for my people on God's twin. Nigga for Featherman, yeah. And then today I'm gonna be talking about the moon and the lunar cycles for the most part. Now, and the like overall importance of the moon cycles and from us going through these monthly cycles and things of that nature, and actually manifesting, materializing things and being more in sync with these cycles, aka the moon cycles and stuff like that. So you can be more in sync with the heavenly bodies and stuff like that. So you go through things in a more properly transition type of format and stuff like that, and you don't be so flunked out, and then you turn into some type of overcompensation type of energy, or you have to go through extremes or some type of tower moment or a catastrophic moment, or you have to do the most just to make sure you be back in sync, or you start to notice when you're lacking being in sync from an overall perspective, from understanding this knowledge and shit. Now, we already know the moon. We already know the moon is a celestial body for the most part, and from an overall perspective, just based upon the Earth's orbit, Earth rotation, and things of that nature, right? It's the reflection of how it is facing the sun for the most part, and based upon the geographical location, right, of where the sun is shining, based upon our rotation and stuff like that. That's how it made different time zones and things of that nature, all the way down to different days of the week, and you know what I'm saying, like the 24-hour cycle and things of that nature. Like, it's just us calculating the time based upon the astrology, astronomy, and the anatomy and stuff like that, and how that physically reacts, and then it started to go into the seasons and things of that nature, right? That's why these things be different in some pockets, and we already know that the moon moves on like a monthly cycle, really 29 days, but you know, on rare occasions it'll like switch up a little bit. That's why we be having solar eclipses and like lunar eclipses and all that type of shit, right? So when it comes to like the new moon and shit like that, right, the new moon will be a better time of when you want to plant a new seed for something. And then when you want to plant a new seed for something, aka you want to start something new, right, you would have to pay attention to that sign and things of that nature, right? So kind of like, let's say the new moon will be in Scorpio and things of that nature, right? Whatever seed you planted during that new moon, right, since the moon has to deal with more that internal type of energy, or the emotions and feelings, or self-reflection, or that internal mirror, right, and internalizing things, right, and more dealing with like the internal world and your water cycle, emotional cycle. That's why sometimes a lot of time it be females who be on their period, and their periods be in sync with like the moon cycle, and then the only time that their periods be out of sync and shit like that is just based upon their hormone imbalance, or they fucking a lot and things of that nature, and from them like fucking a lot, or them being with a man and stuff like that, and them being able to retain and receive these things more and things of that nature. That's why I get out of sync, because that male being, in a sense, because he has a dick and balls and things of that nature, and then you have an ovaries and stuff like that, and then women more in the percentage scale of doing something, of being more in the feminine type of energy, even though as spirits we are both androgynous and stuff like that, right? Females are going to be, it's going to take a little bit more on the percentage scale of that femininity when it comes to attractiveness, and then the male is going to take a little bit of the percentage scale of being like the light. The woman will be like the darkness and things of that nature. The man will be the external, the woman will be the internal, things of that nature, right? And a man has a dick and get erect, and he's gonna try to direct shit for the most part. So that's why men be more into the masculine energy, aka externalizing the internal realm, and be more into the an idea or like a vision of something, and not try to get too soaked up into the emotions and feelings. And then the woman will be like the encapsulation of that thought idea, aka they'll be so into that thought idea, they'll you know what I'm saying, they'll accumulate that idea and thought until they have some type of vibration or some type of feeling about it. So that's why men be walking vibration. I mean, that's why women be walking vibrations and men be walking frequencies. You know what I'm saying? From the men being a frequency, that's the frequency or the line of events is going to ride on, and then the woman being a walking vibration, right, is going to vibrate. So it's going to go through the ups and downs. It's going to go through the experiences. It's going to go through uplifting feelings and downwards feelings for the most part. So that's you living your life in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things are a part of life. And then the men will be more in the energy of like that provider type of energy, and then the woman will be more in that nurturing caretaker type of energy of what has already been provided for. You get what I'm saying? So it's like a natural type thing for the most part. So like just based upon our own autonomy and anatomy and stuff like that, we see this from a physical standpoint. A physical standpoint when it comes to our anatomy and things of that nature, which is why if you want to look at it from a life science biological perspective and stuff like that, right? That's why they be saying the men be having the XX chromosome and the women be having the XY chromosome, but they're really just trying to say what I'm talking about right now from like a spiritual nature and shit. That's why men be born born naturally with a dick and balls, and then women be naturally born with ovaries and have ass and titties, and they more have like curves and stuff like that because they can retain more and receive more. And then the men be more in that provider type of energy and have a dick, and they like to direct shit. They like to have order behind something. They'll be like the order, and then the woman will be like the chaos. You know what I'm saying? Because from them being chaotic, aka they can retain more based upon the darkness, aka the accumulation of light, like the men being the light and the woman being the darkness for the most part. Since it's the accumulation of light, that's why women can be blindsided by their darkness or get too lost into the light. Well, really, it's the men who get too lost into the light, and then the woman, they'll get too lost into the darkness type of shit for the most part. So they'll keep on getting so erratic because they keep creating more and more thoughts and feelings, and it starts to overwhelm them. Like men can be too into the energy of not trying to feel emotions and feelings for one, and trying to thug it out, tough it out, man up, and all that type of shit. Not to say there's something wrong with that, but they'll be more into that overthinking type of energy, and I gotta do what I gotta do, and I don't really care about the emotional baggage that I'm creating for myself, or emotional trauma that I'm creating for myself, because hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm a man because of this, that, and the third, for the most part. So it's a yin and yang to both aspects for the most part, but we both meet each other in that sense. You know what I'm saying? The men will be like the yang, and then the women will be like the yin and stuff like that. We still both need each other for the most part, but I'm saying that to say to explain the lunar cycles and shit like that, right? So like this like motherly type of energy, this Cancer type energy, this fourth house type energy, this home, family, provider, nurturer, caring type of energy, for the most part, is the moon in itself, because it's just the reflection of what the sun already doing and stuff like that. The sun would be like the action, and then the moon would be like the reaction for what the sun just acted on. You get what I'm saying? So for the most part, when it goes through these different transitions and these different water cycles, lunar cycles, moon cycles, monthly cycles, and shit like that, right? Whenever there's a new moon, that's the time you want to start some new shit. And then whatever sign is in, so let's say it was a Scorpio. Well, it is a Scorpio right now. Well, it just transitioned to Sagittarius. So it would be like on some, anything you doing new, it has to be in a Scorpio-like way. So Scorpio has to deal with being fixated, adamant, and stubborn in your own way of dealing with the emotions and feelings. And so like Scorpio, 8th house type of energy. So that dealing with the behind the scenes realm and things of that nature. And it is ruled by Pluto, so that's deep passion, deep intentions, deep willpower. You know what I'm saying? Some type of intensity, emotion and stuff like that. And he likes to soak into that emotion and feeling and internalize it and things of that nature for the most part. And the behind the scenes realm, you know what I'm saying? Things in the dark that aren't being brought to the light for the most part. Alternative motives. You know what I'm saying? Like manipulation type of energy and stuff like that. Things that are considered taboo, things you need to put to a death. You know what I'm saying? Is either going to be something that's going through an actual death cycle, aka it's about to expire, and you fixated on the thing that's about to expire, and you can't let that shit go, or you can transform that shit for the most part. You can put something to a death, aka it done passed on and it done served its purpose and things of that nature. So you need to transition to the next thing and stuff like that. That's why a lot of times Scorpios be getting that goth, emo, darkness type of vibe and things of that nature, or them be into a lot of occult mysticism, taboo type of things for the most part, because their fixation on death, aka the deterioration, right? And with that being said, right, during the new moon, based upon whatever the moon is at, that's how you should be reacting, responding to these things. And then whatever seasonal transition it is, aka wherever the sun pocket is at during that time and things of that nature, that's how you're gonna act upon it. And then when it's a full moon, it's gonna fully illuminate and things of that nature. So it's gonna be, everything is gonna be super heightened and things of that nature. It's gonna be you going through like some type of sacrifice type shit, not no like blood sacrificial rite of passage ritual and spell spookism type shit. For the most part, is you sacrificing yourself, aka you putting your blood, sweat, and tears behind something, and you putting your attention and your emotional state of being into your actions and your reactions. You know what I'm saying? Based upon like the intentions and what you're paying attention to, and it's going to accumulate into what becomes a full moon, and it's going to be fully idealized for the most part, right? So during that full moon and whatever sign is in, all those senses that you started during the new moon, based upon that manifesting type of energy in which you try to bring forth that was new, is gonna finally like get into a emotional heightened spectrum for the most part. So look at that as whenever you started doing that thing during the new moon, and you actually putting forth the effort, and you going within the natural transitions every time it switches to a new sign, all the way up until it gets to a full moon. The full moon is like the heightened emotion and feeling of you accomplishing whatever you did during that new moon. You know, yeah. For the most part, it's basically like that. It's just the full illumination of the emotional heightenedness of what you did during the new moon, and it's gonna get heightened. So if you was doing a whole bunch of negative shit, or you was doing something that wasn't in sync, or you doing shit that was counterproductive during the new moon, when it hit that full moon, it's gonna hit you 2 times harder and stuff like that. That's why when a full moon be happening and shit like that, motherfuckers be staring at the moon, and for some reason they go through some type of catastrophic moment or some shit like that, or you know what I'm saying, like they feel like crying or some shit, or it be like, you know what I'm saying, like for some reason they feel so like emotionally heightened for some reason. And then even from a positive perspective, right, if you was doing way more productive, progressive type of shit during the full moon and stuff like that, you probably go through a situation in your life where it actually some like, you know what I'm saying, whatever thought and idea, that seed that you planted during that new moon, it actually starts to grow. Like you know what I'm saying, you have some type of opportunity that you set up for yourself based upon your natural talents and gifts that you putting your attention towards that thing and working towards it, and then during that full moon it becomes actualized and stuff like that based upon that heightened emotion that you get from the full moon and the full illumination and things of that nature. That's why sometimes when we be going through like certain moon cycles, when it be like a fucking lunar eclipse and shit like that, or like a blood moon and things of that nature, right? And it'd be like that animism and stuff like that, of like they'll be like, oh, it's the goddamn like wolf moon or the falcon moon because of this, then the third, or the bear moon and stuff like that. It's just them doing animism for astrology and shit like that for the most part. So it'll be like, oh, it's a full beaver moon and shit like that. It's probably gonna be talking about some Taurus type of shit, aka it's gonna be a Taurus full moon that day and stuff like that, right? So based upon you being in sync and you going through these natural transitions, and then you already know what sign is for each sign and things of that nature, right? It's gonna help you be more in sync because you already know. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm basically trying to say, like, you're gonna know what type of time to be on during that time period because there's a space for it. When you try to act out certain characteristics during the wrong time and things of that nature, it's gonna make you super out of sync for the most part. So we could be going through certain shifts and things of that nature, right? But you still focusing on old shifts. AKA you could look at that like, oh, it's a new moon in Taurus and things of that nature, right? And you keep on doing the opposite energy, AKA you keep on doing like Scorpio type of energy, right? So you keep on trying to act overly stubborn about some type of emotion and feeling that you went through based upon some type of catastrophic moment and things of that nature, when during that new moon in Taurus, you're supposed to take that emotion and feeling, you're supposed to make it surface level. You're supposed to add some love, value, and appreciation. You should be using that for some type of self-esteem or monetization, aka look at that as like trying to get some type of lucrative thing off of that thing and stuff like that. AKA you could probably make up some type of thing of some type of creative pursuit so you can market or make money off your pain or some shit like that. I'm just using that as like an example and stuff like that. Or you know what I'm saying, like during that time you're supposed to make some new way to stabilize that emotion and feeling. So if you're doing something kind of productive, I'm not trying to stabilize that emotion and feeling, aka some Taurus type of shit, right? And you still focus on the Scorpio type shit, is gonna work backwards. So by the time you hit to a full moon and stuff like that, you're gonna feel even more depressed. You're gonna feel even more chaotic and things of that nature. You're gonna feel even more confused and things of that nature for the most part, right? So right, it's really about knowing the different transitions for all these things for the most part, and shit. So when we be going through these different seasonal transitions, Aries through Pisces, springtime, summertime, fall time, and winter time and stuff like that, and then you act upon the different moon transitions and stuff like that, for the most part you'll have a different pocket for different time periods and things of that nature, right, of when to act upon certain things. So it just makes it so you can be in sync from like an overall perspective for the most part. And you know what I'm saying, like based upon the heavenly bodies and the frequency, vibration, and the energy that's in the air during those times, you be, you know what I'm saying, you're able to be in that sun pocket, you're able to be in that moon pocket, you was able to go through the seasonal transitions, and you was able to do things at certain times and things of that nature, right? All the way down to the seasons. Even if you don't be into the astrology shit, you can pay attention to the seasons and stuff like that. You doing springtime shit during the springtime, you springing things off, you trying to germinate a scene, you trying to you know what I'm saying, that's when the flowers start to bloom and things of that nature, and nature start to you know what I'm saying, like grow and things of that nature. So you growing as a person, so you gonna start planting a whole bunch of seeds during that time of what the fuck you want to do and things of that nature, which started in March. That's why I be saying that shit of, you know what I'm saying, during March, in the beginning of spring, aka Aries season. That's the actual first day of the year and stuff like that, not starting off during in the middle of Aquarius and shit like that. It's like the fixated portion of wintertime. You trying to manifest and do some like New Year's resolution during that time, you're gonna be like, bro, you're gonna be completely out of sync type shit. And then during the summertime, right, you're gonna start bringing life to what the fuck you just created during the springtime and stuff like that. That's when everyone be outside. That's when, like, you know what I'm saying, it'd be more hot outside and stuff like that. That's when everything that then got brought to life, and there's no like a whole bunch of pollen and shit like that, and everything been germinated in and things of that nature, and you can start fixating on your passions. Start putting action towards what you germinated during the springtime, and then during the fall time is when that starts to deteriorate and stuff like that, right? And then you start to you know what I'm saying, go through that deterioration stage, aka that death stage, aka that actual physical stage of what you just created and brought life to, and then you start to, you know what I'm saying, transition into harvest season. So that'd be like Virgo season and things of that nature, right? Transitioning into the Libra season, to where you start harvesting and you know what I'm saying, holding on to the creations you just created for yourself, so you can figure out a way to recuperate that thing again. And that's like wintertime and stuff like that. So that's when you go back to the drawing board. That's when you recuperate. That's when you get all your crops, you get all your creations and stuff like that. You try to have some type of security, safety, shelter, and things of that nature. You huddle that shit up. You start protecting that shit. You start to work on your connections and stuff like that. You start to worry about your status, aka like Capricorn, fucking Aquarius type of shit. You start worrying more about your public persona and things of that nature. You start worrying about, you know what I'm saying, your imagination, other people's imagination, and then how y'all can keep things going together as like a band or a community to make sure during the springtime you're able to do that shit again. So the same way how farmers be doing that shit when it comes to their crops and their livestock and things of that nature, right? So they always have the freshest fruit and the freshest crops and the freshest agriculture and things of that nature, and the freshest animals that don't get too sick, and they was able to maintain like their health and wellness and things of that nature. It's that same type of mentality. So the same way how y'all be looking at like these plants and these animals and things of that nature, and your imagination, your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, you should be looking at all these things as your children, your imagination as your kids, and protect these things and take this shit seriously for the most part, and to be more in sync. And yeah, so basically some of what I just said. Yeah, during that new moon is when you start doing something new and you start planting that seed, and then you go to that first half moon and things of that nature until it goes into that full moon, and it gets fully illuminated and stuff like that, and it's gonna hit that peak emotional point, that peak exaltation of what the fuck you created for yourself and things of that nature, and it's gonna start waxing away and stuff like that. It's gonna start, well, no, the first half is going to be the waxing phase, and after that it's going to go to the waning phase, aka it's going to deteriorate, and it's going to become a new moon again, and then you have to create something new for yourself. And from you being in sync with these lunar cycles and things of that nature, and then you understanding the position of the season, aka where the sun is at the moment and stuff like that, you're able to know how to correspond with the actions and reactions, and you know how to do different things at different times and different pockets and stuff like that, so you don't be super out of sync and things of that nature, aka you ain't trying to create something new during the winter time when everything fucking dead and fucking withering away and shit like that, for the most part. And then even then, from a physical perspective, it's cold as fuck and stuff like that. It's not to say you can't keep working, but I'm saying it's gonna be harder for you, and it's gonna be more counterproductive, and you probably have to do more extreme things to maintain what the fuck you doing, because you didn't set yourself up during the spring and summertime, and then you didn't try to harvest that shit during the fucking fall time and stuff like that. So it's only gonna fall insane and deteriorate anytime you try to get that shit started, because that shit gonna fucking die. That's like trying to grow a seed during the fall and winter time and shit like that. That shit gonna fucking die immediately. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same type of thing. And yeah.